Rugby World Rankings, folks, after 2 rounds of the Six Nations, plus a belated monthly update for the month of January, which has just gone. We're kind of going to breeze through the Rugby World Rankings because after 2 rounds of the Six Nations, everyone is still in the same spot that they started in. There's not a heck of a lot of talking points. So Ireland are up from their first round in terms of their pointage. They didn't take anything in the second because their gap over the Italians was too big. The French took some points off the Scots, but not enough to pass the New Zealanders. The English took some points very marginally off Wales. Scots lost some points to the French, and the Italians have no change down there in 11th. So pretty same. Yeah, very, very little change in the round that has just gone. South Africa is obviously still top of the log. New Zealand there in third. And Australia, I guess we would like to see them, once they get playing again under Joe Schmidt, climb the Rugby World Rankings. But that leads us into some stats and thanks, because of all the topics that were going on in January, Joe Schmidt getting appointed Wallabies coach was certainly one of the kind of bigger talking points that drew a fair bit of attention, along with the Six Nations squads, which made sense because at that time the squads were just being announced. The Rugby World Cup odds for 2027, as we sat here kind of 4 years out, and then also Razor, Scott Robertson's All Blacks coaching staff. So that's kind of all the hot topics that were there in January. February is obviously going to be a whole bunch of Six Nations, which makes absolute sense and is perhaps reflected in where you guys are based. The largest group in the month of January was in the UK, then South Africa, then Ireland, then New Zealand, then Australia. Usually the kind of, that's the top 5. Usually it's just the order that changes depending on which competition is currently going on. And 20% of you apparently put on the auto-generated subtitles. So I'm not sure if that's because you have them on for all videos, because you like seeing the interesting translations of names like Jelly Bear to see how the auto-translation spit them out, or just because you got no idea what I'm saying. But there you go. 20% of you use subtitles. That's 1 in 5. If you guys haven't subscribed, please do that. That's something I fail to mention with regularity, but tend to mention in the monthly updates. If you haven't subbed and you've been along throughout the month of January or halfway through February as we sit here now, please do so. You guys also watch a bunch of other YouTube channels, and they're rugby related. You guys watch Egg Chasers with Tim. You watch Squid Rugby with Robbie, so a couple of great independent channels. You guys also watch, this is in the month of January, the Six Nations official channel and Virgin Media's channel. So yeah, getting your highlights and your, it's like the pundits and whatnot doing on those ones, plus a couple of good independent channels. And then the Rugby Pod, so a rugby podcast. Happy days. Also, quick thanks to the patrons who support the channel. You guys can also support the channel on Patreon if you so desire. That link will be down there in the description. These guys help keep us operating here at the headquarters of 2 Cents Rugby in my living room. A special thanks, please, to Angus, to Matt, and to Jack for your support. Plus, we had a couple of new people in Kieran and John returning in the last month as well. So welcome along, guys. Patreon, support the channel if you so desire. What else has been going on, man? Super Rugby, which is not too far away, is gonna nix this kicking, standing around thing in the bud, apparently. Super Rugby has seen what's going on with this teams kicking the ball and the receiver catching it and not passing it and not running it. So all the guys in front of them still being onside, waiting to see what he does. They're going to get rid of that law. So there's going to be a trial law for Super Rugby, which I feel like is not going to be hugely impactful, in that it'll just... The only thing I can see happening is it'll stop the kind of nonsense which is going on at the moment, whereby if a guy catches the ball and he runs 5 meters, suddenly everyone's onside. Or if he catches the ball and he passes it, everyone's onside. Because what we're more used to is when the team kicks the ball, they send up either the kicker or one of their wingers to chase that ball, to play everybody onside. I feel like that's what it's just going to revert back to. So hopefully what we see is the traditional kind of, if you don't chase your kicks and a bunch of guys are offside, guys will look up and see a bunch of offside players in front of them and attack. So it's been a bit of a weird one, especially, I guess, for people who just tune in for the Six Nations to see kicking battles going back and forth when there's just a bunch of people who are just like playing the freeze game, standing in the middle of the field, not wanting to move until the ref says they can move. So, yeah, Super Rugby is looking to get rid of that before it starts in the season in a few weeks' time. And also Scotland have sought some clarification from World Rugby about their TMO decision. It sounds like they're not being sore losers about it, just to put it that way, because I think they're allowed to say that they thought the decision was like wrong. But they are saying kind of like it doesn't matter and they just want to get to the right decision. So they want clarification. They're not having a big moan about it, which is pretty pleasing. But yes, they are seeking clarification. It's one of those weird ones where I can understand how the TMO came to his conclusion, because the way the question is worded from the ref is you have to see the smoking gun, right? You have to see the ball hitting the line. But we were all seeing it in a position where the ball can't be anywhere else, but you can't see it doing its thing, so you can't give it. So, yeah, it kind of goes against the common sense thing, which is sometimes what we see from the rugby laws. Now, I'm not a guy who likes to tinker with the rugby laws. I feel like they do too much of that, and it's hard to get a bit of stability. But, yeah, I can see why Scotland are asking the question, but I guess World Rugby have just got the laws the way they are at the minute to keep things largely with the ref on the field. I think that's why they moved away from try, no try, because they didn't want an age looking at the TMO calls. In theory, if the ref just makes a call, the TMO's got an easy decision of I have clear evidence to overturn it or I don't. But that one was... yeah, a bit of an exception. But anyway, cheers again to the patrons for supporting the channel. Cheers to you guys for subscribing and liking and watching and commenting. I love all that kind of stuff. What do you reckon about the world rankings? Are they currently fair as you see them, even if they haven't been kind of moving around a heck of a lot? What do you reckon about the getting rid of this kind of Dupont law where everyone stands in the middle of the pitch? And what do you reckon about Scotland asking the question? I think it's a fair one to ask, even though I can kind of understand where both sides are coming from. But anyway, you guys listening, thoughts, cheers as always, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.